Okay guys, this is lesson 7-8 for pre-algebra. So this is about simple and compound interest. So take a minute, copy down these key vocab, and then we will talk about them. Alright, so principal is like what you start with. If you have a birthday party and you get $200 and you want to deposit that into a savings account, that would be your principal. It's what you start with. Your interest is the money the bank's going to give you for letting you hold their money, your money. So like they might give you $20. That would be interest. The interest rate changes from bank to bank. It changes from all the different investments you can choose. The interest rate goes up and down. So that is the percentage that you always see on TV, like 2%, 3%. Simple and compound are the two different ways that you can calculate interest. So I'm going to show you how to calculate both of them. Simple interest is just that. It's really simple. And compound is a little more intricate. And then your balance is how much money you have in your account, is when they send you the statement and it says, oh, you have this in your account. So here's the simple interest formula. The interest you earn, which is I, equals the principal times the rate times the time. And notice that the time is always in years. All right, so if it's only for a half a year, that would be 0.5 of a year. You have to make sure it's in years. All right, so here's how you do it. Find the simple interest. Here's the first example. My principal is $250, and I'm going to times that by my interest rate, which is 0.04. I change my percent to a decimal, and then I times it by 3 years. So you will need a calculator for these. I don't expect you to be able to do this in your head. So you're going to do 250 times 0.04 times 3. So my interest that I earn on this is $30. That is just money that the bank pays to people for letting them borrow their money. So you put $250 in. If you don't touch it for 3 years, they're going to give you $30. So then in 3 years, you'd have $280. So try the next one, and then we'll go over it. All right, so you're going to start with 250, and you're going to times it by 3.5%, and then 6 months. Notice that that's 6 months, so that is half a year, so it's 0.5 of a year. So you do 250 times 0.035 times 0.5, and the interest you earned on this, which is not very much, is $4.38. It's only for 6 months. They're not going to give you a lot of money if you leave it in there for 6 months. So, all right, so that's simple interest. Pretty easy, straightforward. Compound interest is a little bit harder. So here's the formula. The balance, which is the B, equals your principal times 1 plus the rate to the n power. Now, P is the principal, so that's pretty easy to understand. The 1 is the 100% of your money. So if you're going to deposit $200, that's 100% of your money, plus they're going to give you an interest rate. So it would be like 1 plus 2%, so that would be 1.2, which is 102%. And then N is the number of interest periods. Now, it's not as simple as simple interest, so I'm going to show you how to do these two problems. Okay, so amount deposited. You're going to deposit $900 annual interest rate. Now this can be compounded annually or semi-annually. If you see from our two examples from A and from B, banks have different ways of compounding interest, and you'll see which one is the better deal. But they can compound it annually, which means 1 time a year, or they can compound it semi-annually, which means 2 times a year, like in January and then again in June. So, and then you have a 2% rate for 3 years. So I'll show you how to do this. So what you do is, my balance is going to be 900. That's my principal. See right here, 900 times 1 plus the interest rate, which is 2%, 0.02, to the third power. If it's compound annually, it's pretty easy. You just plug your numbers into the right spots and you'll get your answer. So you do 900, 1.02 to the third power. Now, if you're having a hard time on your calculator, you can do 900. This is what I just typed in. 900, I did the parenthesis. I did 1.02, and then I did a parenthesis, and then I did the caret key. I don't know if you know that one, but it looks like this. That's the caret key, which means raise it to an exponent, and then I did 3. So if you do that, you'll get $955.09. All right. Now, compound semi-annually means you have to take whatever you're going to get and divide it in half. So, I'm going to start with my $900, okay? Now, my interest rate, I get 2% a year. But if I do it twice a year, that means I have to break it up. I have to get 1% in January and 1% in June. So you have to cut, if this is compound semi-annually, that means it's going to happen twice in 1 year. You have to cut the percentage rate in half. So I would have 1 plus 0.01 because I'm going to get 1% in June and 1% in January, which would be a total of 2% for the year, but they're going to give it to me at different times. So I have to cut it in half. Now, with the time, however, it's not going to be just a 3 as my exponent because it's compounding semi-annually. That means it's going to happen in January and June, and then in January and June, and then in January and June. So it's going to happen a total of 6 times. You have to double that number because it's not going to compound 3 times. It's going to compound 6 times over 3 years because it's twice a year. So twice for 1 year, and then twice for the second year, and twice for the third year. So then I do 900 times 1.01 to the 6th power. And for this one, I get $955.37. Now, look at these. They're very, very close. However, compounding semi-annually does give you a little bit more money, 28 cents more over 3 years. But imagine if you deposited your money and it was a lot of money and you did it over 10 or 15 years. It would be quite a big difference. Okay, so try some examples. Try this one. This is simple interest. All right, so I'm going to start with 900. I'm going to times it. I have to make sure I'm doing simple interest, so that's the key right there. $900 at 3%, so 0.03 for 5 years times 5. So 900 times 0.03 times 5. So I get $13.50. I'm making sure I did this right. No. Okay. I knew I did something wrong. So 900 times 0.03 times 5 years is $135. So you get $135 for your interest. All right, so you deposit $400 in an account that earns 5% interest compound annually. The balance after the first 4 years is $486.20. What is the balance in your account after another 4 years? A total of 8 years. So try this one and then we will go over it. All right, so you're going to start with $400. That's pretty simple. Okay, parenthesis. And it is going to compound annually. So that means I'm going to have 1 plus 0.05 because it's 5%. And then I'm going to have it to a total of 8 years. So I'm going to do 400 times 1.05 to the 8th power. and I get $590.98. $590.98. All right, one last one. Find the balance on a deposit of $2,500 that earns 3% interest, compounds semi-annually for 4 years. So try this problem, and then we'll go over it. Okay, so you're going to start with $2,500. Now, it's semi-annually, so that means twice a year I am going to get, it's going to compound twice a year. So that means I have to cut this in half. So it's going to be 1 plus 0.015 because it's 1.5%. I've cut that in half. And then I double this number and make it 8 times. Because 4 years, if I do it twice a year for 4 years, that's 8 times that I'm compounding. So I have 2,500 times 1.015 to the 8th power. And I get 281623. All right, that is it for your notes.